Then Yeshua told a story.
There was a man who owned a vineyard with a strong fence around it, a watchtower, and a winery. He rented it out to people who would run the business while he himself was away in another country. When the harvest was in, the man sent a servant to collect the rent for the vineyard. But the people in charge beat him up and sent him back empty-handed. The owner sent another servant, and he was wounded in the head when the men from the vineyard threw stones at him. He too returned to where the owner was. The third person who tried to collect the rent was killed, and many others were sent after that. Some were beaten and others were killed. The owner of the vineyard had one special son, his only son, whom he loved very much. He believed that if the tenants saw him, they would have more respect and they would hand over the rent. But the tenants thought differently.
This is the owner's only heir.
If we kill him,
He might give up.
and we will have the vineyard all to ourselves.
So they killed the owner's son and threw his body outside the property. Now, what do you suppose the owner of the vineyard would do when he hears about that? Won't he come and destroy those tenants and find new ones? Have you never read the scripture about Yahweh taking the stone which the builders rejected and making it the chief cornerstone of the building? And did you read about how it was such a powerful and dramatic decision that it startled everyone when it happened?
Well, the religious leaders knew that Yeshua was talking about them, and they wanted more than ever to arrest him. But still they were afraid of the crowds, so instead they just skulked away. But they sent others, including some who supported the unscriptural Jewish king Herod, to badger him with more questions.
Teacher, we are impressed with your courage to speak the truth without favor to anyone, no matter how powerful they are. So, we have a question for you. Is it right, according to the Torah of course, to pay taxes to the Roman emperor? Should we pay them or should we not?
Yeshua knew what they were up to, and so he said,
Why are you trying to trick me? Get a coin and show it to me.
Someone produced a coin and showed it to Yeshua.
Whose picture and whose writing is on this coin?
Why, Caesar's, of course.
So give to Caesar what belongs to him, but give Yahweh what belongs to Yahweh.
Excellent.
Nice one.
Then a religious leader that did not believe in the resurrection came and asked,
Teacher, the Torah says that if a man's brother dies, leaving his widow but no children, then it is the duty of the brother to impregnate his brother's widow so she will have a child. Suppose that there was a family with 7 brothers. The first one died, leaving his wife with no child. The second brother took her as his wife, but he too died without getting her pregnant. The same thing happened with the third. In the end, all 7 were married to her at some point, but without any child being born. Then the woman died. If there is a resurrection, then which one would be her husband in heaven?
You have misunderstood the scriptures and misunderstood Yahweh. There is no marriage in heaven. Everyone is like the angels, neither male nor female. But as for whether there is life after death, have you read in the Torah where Yahweh spoke to Moses in the burning bush? He said that he was being worshipped by Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. A dead person cannot worship Yahweh, only people who are alive. Can you see how you missed that?
An expert on the Torah had been listening, and he was impressed with the answers that Yeshua gave. So he asked,
Which commandment in the Torah do you think is the most important one?
The first of all the commandments is this one. Listen, Israel, God does not share his throne with anyone. You must love him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. That, my friend, is the number 1 commandment. But the second is similar, which is this. You must love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. There is no other rule that is greater than these 2 rules.
The Torah expert was impressed.
Oh, very good, Master. You have spoken the truth. For there is only one God, and to love Him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your soul, and with all your strength is far more important than all of the other rules about burnt offerings and sacraments.
When Yeshua saw that this man was not being argumentative like the other religious leaders, he was impressed.
You're not far from being able to see the kingdom that I've come to build.
After that, no more religious leaders dared to ask him any further questions. While still teaching there in the temple, Yeshua used a question of his own to make a point.
You Torah experts say that the Messiah will be a descendant of King David. Yet, the Spirit of Yahweh caused David to say of this coming Messiah, Yahweh said to my Lord, sit here on my right hand until I make your enemies into your footstool. Do you hear that? David called the Messiah his Lord. Would he say such a thing about someone who is merely his great-great-grandson?
The crowds loved what they were hearing, and so Yeshua decided to take his teaching a step further.
Watch out for these so-called Torah experts. They love to dress up and be given fancy titles. They expect special recognition in their religious meetings and being given the best seats at festivals. And they rip off widows and other gullible women, and they pretend to be spiritual by praying long prayers. These are the ones who will be punished the most by Yahweh.
Yeshua was sitting near the place where people contributed money to the temple treasury, and he saw a lot of rich Jews competing to outgive one another there. Then a poor widow came in, and she dropped 2 very small coins into the collection box. He signaled his disciples and spoke to them.
I'm telling you the truth. This poor widow gave more than any of the others. They were only making token contributions. The bulk of what they owned, they kept for themselves. But she forsook everything she had. Yahweh doesn't look at what you give. He looks at what you have left.